For some of you, this might be your first time, so I'll give you a brief description of what we've been doing. The library used to have a kind of a potluck thing where people would bring food in together, socialize, share recipes, and we've kind of expanded on that now that we have use of this facility, which is really, really nice. So now we've kind of broken it down into a themed situation. So once a month we meet. We'll bring in our own recipes. We'll prepare some stuff for you, share some tips with you. We'll ask you to bring in your stuff, share some of your recipes, share some of your tips. And this month's theme is brunch. So we're going to try and keep it fairly simple, but with Spencer here, we never get to keep it very simple. So I'm going to start off with some of the most simplest part. My part doesn't even involve cooking. It's mostly just prep. So I'm going to do smoothies. For today's recipe, we're going to do more of a drink smoothie than a snack smoothie. I typically make smoothies once or twice a week in the evenings, and that'll be my late night snack. So I'll make it a lot thicker than what we're going to make it today. But because we want something to drink instead of just filling up on food, because we'll be filling up on other good stuff today, I'm going to keep it a little bit more of a milk mixture and add a little bit less solids to it. So I've got two recipes that I typically make at home. The first one we're going to talk about is the blueberry strawberry smoothie. And it's pretty standard. At home, this is my blender. You don't need a fancy blender to make smoothies. They're real simple. This blender has probably had for at least 15, maybe even close to 20 years. So you don't need anything expensive to make a good smoothie. You just need good quality products to put into it. So I made up our first couple of batches of smoothies. I made the banana and strawberry smoothie in advance this morning while we were setting up, and that's cooling in the fridge right now. For the demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using a slightly larger one so that we can make a whole batch at one time. And for that, we'll be using the blueberry strawberry smoothie. So with the blueberry strawberry smoothie, I'll typically just start off with frozen blueberries. And I like to use blueberries because they've got a lot of nutrients in them. They're very healthy fruit. They also have a lot of fiber in it. And because of that, they take a little bit more chopping than some of the other fruits that you're going to take. And so I'll typically start off with about half a cup of blueberries if I'm making something for myself. And this will make me about 2 large glasses that I can have in the evening or share with somebody else if they're over. So for today, I'll be putting in quite a bit more than that because there's quite a few of us here. Luckily, most of the blenders have measurement marks on the sides of the containers. So you don't have to pre-measure everything. I don't worry about whether it's 3/4 of a cup or half a cup. I just put in what looks to be about right for me and what I want at that time. So I'm going to put the blueberries in. Then I'll add a little bit of milk. The blueberries can be a little tough, especially the frozen ones. There's got some tough skins on them. There's a lot of seeds in there, which is good. It's going to add a lot of fiber so that it'll keep it a little bit healthy for us. But it also requires a little bit more blendings than the strawberries do. So I typically blend those up first. And there's nothing fancy to it. I don't measure the time specifically. I don't worry about the speed specifically. On this one, I typically go with the chop setting. On this one, I'm just going to go with setting number 1. And we're going to run that for a few seconds. Just to get those nice and started and broken up, then we'll add our other components to it. We'll blend it some more so they'll finish breaking up with the rest of the items going in there. So, and then I will give you a warning. Frozen blueberries are really good, but they are also very, very purple. If you let this leak out on your countertop, you're going to start staining stuff. So hopefully you don't have a countertop that stains. I'm not worried about it here. The ones I have at home don't stain, so I don't worry about them too much. But it is something you want to keep an eye on when you're using the blueberries like this. So we're also going to add the strawberries. A lot of people like to use the frozen strawberries, which is good. I like the fresh strawberries just because I can taste the difference between frozen strawberries and fresh strawberries. I don't know if everybody notices that. Has anybody else seen that?
Okay. I think the frozen strawberries are almost kind of bitter.
Yeah, yep. So I don't typically add any sugars to my smoothies. You can add sugars, and as a matter of fact, when I want a sweet smoothie, I'll often add ice cream to it. Just gives it kind of a shake flavor. So we'll add our strawberries in. I chop these into half. If you go with the frozen ones, don't buy the whole frozen ones because those will take forever to chop up in your blender. Go with the half frozen ones, and they'll blend up a lot nicer than the whole ones do. So we're going to add some yogurt. I add the yogurt because I like the taste of the yogurt, and it's healthy for you. So Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking a question. So this is vanilla flavored. You can choose whatever flavor you want. Most of the time when I'm making mine at home, I will make it without the vanilla flavor because I will put in some protein powder, which has the vanilla flavor in that. So, and how much you want to put in is all up to you. Once again, it all depends on how much of one component you like in it. The Greek yogurt gives it a slightly tart taste to it, which goes good with the fruit and the sugary taste of the fruit. It also blends in well with the ice cream if you're going to add it into the ice cream and make it more of a sweet snack instead of a drink. And I'll typically add a little bit of protein powder. So not a lot of us get enough protein in our diets, especially because we're just eating foods that are more convenient for us. So this can be a little healthy mixture for you. You don't have to put it in. It's just something that makes it a little bit healthier. Does anybody drink the protein shakes? Yep. Also a good idea, just a word of warning on the protein shakes. They're mass-produced and marketed, which means they are depending on the flavor a lot. And a lot of them will add a lot of extra sugars into your protein shakes. So if you're diabetic and you have to keep an eye on that, take a look at the labels on your protein shakes and make sure you're grabbing the one that matches your diet best. Hello. So, speaking of adding healthy items, I typically, when I make the banana smoothies and the ones I have in the fridge, I did this morning, I will chop up some just rolled oats. Adds a little bit of fiber into there to it. The strawberries are going to have a lot of fiber. The blueberries are going to have a lot of fiber. Banana surprisingly has a lot of fiber, even though it doesn't feel like it when you're eating it. But I add a little bit of oat powder to my banana smoothies just to add a little bit more fiber to it. A lot of people who really like healthy smoothies will go into things like the chia seeds are big right now. Those chia pets that we remember the commercials from, they're using the chia seeds for those. There's a couple of other seeds that they like. I think flax seed is a common one. And there's a more recent one that's gotten to be a bit of a fad, and I can't remember what that one's called. But there's a lot of seeds that you can throw into your smoothies just to add some fiber and other nutrients if you're looking for more of a healthy treat for yourself. And then we've got our blueberries, strawberries, yogurt, milk. I'm going to add a little bit more milk. I added some to get the blueberries started. But since we're going to be drinking this instead of spooning it out today, we'll add a bit more. And that is pretty much it to making smoothies. You're going to spend more time cleaning up afterwards than you are actually making the item itself. And then once again, the blueberries finished off the grind, so they're going to be a lot smoother when we drink it. I typically like to mix it up just a little bit at the end because sometimes the yogurt will float on top instead of stirring down into the blades itself. On this one, it did a really good job. On my home one, I typically have to do this once or twice during the process just to make sure everything's good. And that is basically it for making a smoothie. It is not hard work. Like I said, you can spend most of your time doing the cleanup afterwards rather than doing all the prep work ahead of time. The good thing about the smoothies is you get to decide what you want. So if there's fruits that you like, put in the fruits you like. If you just like to make it convenient, go with the frozen fruits. They've got different types of frozen fruits at the stores. They've even got blends of frozen fruits, so you don't even have to worry about picking out the fruits you want. You just buy a bag of blended fruit and throw that in there. Yogurt is your option, whether or not you want to go with the yogurt. One of you said you don't like the tart taste of the yogurt, which is understandable. So they make sweetened yogurt. When I first started eating yogurt, I thought I was eating healthy. I was really just eating sugary pudding, basically. It took me a while to realize that different brands of yogurts have different nutrient levels in it. So if you're looking at healthy instead of just sweet and flavorful, look around at something and check out the details on it. Make sure it's what you want to add to your diet for that day. So, any questions? Yep.
Do you ever use like soy milk, almond milk versus
I
dairy milk?
went through a phase when I was using almond milk. I'm lactose intolerant. I think a lot of us, well, some of us get that as we get older. Yep. Uh-huh. Do you have, oh, you lactose intolerant too? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's why I was asking.
Yeah. So yeah, you can.
Change the taste at all?
The almond milk will definitely change the taste. I haven't tried the soy milk. What I've been doing, today we're using just regular 2% milk. When I make this at home, I buy the lactose-free milk, and I don't have any issues with that. So I haven't noticed a major taste between lactose-free milk and regular milk. Has anybody else noticed a taste difference? No? Yep.
What is the ingredient that you added from the little container?
Oh, I didn't add it to this one, but when I made the banana, so basically I take rolled oats and I will throw those in the blender and use the blender as a grinder. So it's basically just rolled oats ground up into particles. So it's not quite flour size, so it's going to be a little gritty, but when it gets blended in with all the seeds from the strawberries and everything else, you're not going to notice it in the drink itself. You can also do this to make oatmeal cookies. If I want to make my oatmeal cookies and pretend like I'm doing something healthy, I'll grind up some oat flour and substitute about a third of the regular flour for the oat flour. I never keep it overnight, so I don't know. So the one I made earlier, I was concerned about that, so I made sure I didn't make it until about 11:30. So it's only been in the fridge for about half an hour now. I've never left one sitting around more than an hour. Has anybody left it overnight?
I have, but just a small batch, and it kind of gets, the water separates.
Okay, so could you just throw it back in the blender then and just remix it real quick?
Probably, yeah.
And did you have to worry about browning?
No.
Okay, because I went through a juice phase for a while, and one of my favorite juice mixes was apple and celery, which was really nice. The sweetness of the apple and the kind of saltiness of the celery blended well together. Problem was, after an hour, it would just turn brown, so it didn't look appetizing at all.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see so many familiar faces, and welcome to our new members here. And I want to give another huge shout out to our friends of the library, because you guys, we couldn't do it without them. I made a variety of things today. Nothing too difficult, as you all know. I like simple. I started off with my blueberry breakfast cake. I think that is on third page. And I found this because I went blueberry picking. And so that was a neat thing to do after moving here from Michigan. So we did some blueberry picking, and I'm like, okay, I brought all these blueberries. So what am I going to do with them? So I ended up finding this recipe, which has gone very well and has been a huge favorite. And so I now make this several times throughout the year. Even I will freeze our blueberries, but even if we don't have them, I'll just go buy some, because it's a nice thing to have when we have guests or whatever. And it's just something that can be made a couple days ahead of time or whatever, and it makes it super simple. The big thing is, here I made 2 batches because I knew we would have so this is what a 9x9, that's what the recipe calls for, a 9x9 size. So this works out pretty well. When I first made this, and it's been a little bit since I've made it before, how thick the batter is when you are putting everything together. And you can see it's all standard things that you all have at home, you know, the flour, sugar, baking powder. It's just really thick batter. And then when you add the egg, the milk, and then the big thing is making the butter soft, not melting, because I made that mistake the first time. Fold it in nice and soft. But when you add, it's so thick, and when you add in the 2 cups of blueberries, it's just a really thick, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? But it's exactly what it's supposed to be, because it's a cake type of thing, and so it's a heavier feel, but it turns out really nice. And you can see before, so you do that, you mix it all together, put it in the pan, super simple, and then before you bake it, you want to do the topping, which is again that softened butter with the walnuts to kind of give it the feel on top, where you have the cinnamon, the sugar, and the walnuts, and I'm missing something. And the flour again, that's it, and the butter. So it worked out really good. And then while that bakes, and that's what I did, when I was making these 2, I thought, okay, I like to be concise in the kitchen, and I like to, just have one thing, but I'm like, if I'm making 2, I had 2 bowls going, so I was measuring out ingredients at the same time. I could put them all in the oven at the same time. And then once it was in the oven, I could just do my drizzle, which is, you can see, super simple, powdered sugar, and milk. So this one, another, I think you could go with any type of fruit you like. I use the blueberries, and that's a big favorite. I haven't done, but I would like to do blackberries, but that's not my husband's favorite, so I tend not to use that one. I think I just have stuck with the blueberries, but I think that you could, because they all have so many good things to add with it. So that's all I have done with that one. Let me think, anything else? And I have used the lemon peel, and then if I don't have a lemon, if I forget to, I have left that out at times. Like this time, I forgot it. Sorry, Hannah. Didn't make it on my list. So I have not, this one doesn't have it, so it tastes the same either way. I haven't, it's not too much of a difference with that one. Any questions? Yes?
Did you have to put anything on the bottom of your pan?
I just did the spray on the bottom.
Okay.
That's all I did. And it came out, I've already cut it because we plated some and took photos, and it comes out really, the spray helps quite a bit.
Okay.
So yes, definitely. The other two I made are warm dishes. And so if you go back to page 1 and 2, let's go with 1, the easy breakfast casserole. That was the one I just took out. And again, you all know I'm nothing but simple. And this is all regular ingredients, again, that you tend to have. It's nice, it's 6 eggs, so it wasn't overwhelming number of eggs. So it's just mixing the eggs and the milk together. I did brown my sausage, because I made this morning. I threw it together this morning. I browned my sausage last night, so I already had that cooked. And then you just take a half a bag of your hash browns, and again, you spray the pan, throw the hash browns in, and then I crumbled up my sausage and put it in, and I cut up my vegetables, and add any vegetables you want. The first time I made it, I tried it without, just to see. It looks so much better with the vegetables in there. Just gives it a little color, and it's a nice way to add things. And Hannah and I were talking, it's a nice way to, what vegetables do you have that you want to use up that you can just throw in there? So this one I threw in some scallions, a red pepper, some mushrooms. So whatever, we talked about spinach as an option. You could do tomatoes, whatever you have. After I cut up the vegetables, I threw in the cheese and just mix that all together. And then it's just pouring the egg mixture, either egg and milk on it. And I cooked it here this morning, just now. So you can see another super simple thing to do. And add what you want to make it yours. I think, if you want more cheese, obviously you can do more than 2 cups. I bought the 4-cup pack because I used 2 cups for each dish, so it worked out well. I use the cheddar. I've tried. We always have like the Mexican blend cheese because we use that a lot. And my husband's like, that didn't taste. I used that last time I made it. He's like, you got to use cheddar for this one. So he thought it was much better with the cheddar. So, and he likes to add his 2 cents in where that's what it's worth. So then the other one I made is just cheesy potatoes. And this was a favorite. My niece got married down here a couple years ago on the beach, and so we had a brunch the day after, and she's like, you have to make the cheesy potatoes because it's my mother-in-law's recipe, and I said, okay. So did that, and this is another 6-item dish. Again, this is a whole bag of hash browns, and then container of sour cream, the 2 cups of cheese, cream of mushroom soup. I have used cream of chicken if I don't have cream of mushroom, so that would work. And then cutting up onion and a stick of butter. And so it's just mixing it all together really well and baking it for an hour at 375. And this is a favorite of the family. We use it all the time. Yes, Mary?
So your package of the hash browns, ounces.
It says
they come in
2,
different?
yes, because this says 2 pounds, but as time has gone by, the packages have shrunk a little bit. So there's the Great Value pack that is 1 pound, 10 ounces. So I have used that.
Okay.
So And that's what is in here, and it makes the full pan. So you're absolutely correct, because it used to be the whole 2 pounds, but it has shrunk over time, so.
So the same thing then on the breakfast casserole, that would just be half of?
Yeah, I just took that
pound
one, yeah, I took the one
Okay.
and just, dumped half of it in, and, yep, you're absolutely right. So again, nothing too difficult with these, but that's what we roll here. Are any other questions on any of these before we turn it over to our man of the hour there with the waffles and cinnamon rolls? All right, Spencer, it is you.
My turn? My turn already? All right, so well, give me 10 seconds here. We'll get another one going. So yeah, so I made, on your books, I don't have the page number in front of me, it's the overnight cinnamon rolls. I think it's a short recipe, I think it's only 3 pages. And but to save some grace, the waffles is pretty easy. And I'll tell you a little bit about that here in a second. So while I'm doing this, in case some of you are wondering, I'm sure everybody has one of these waffle irons at their house, right? Something looks like this? Sure. Somebody said, boy, your waffle iron looks like it's well loved. This waffle iron has got to be at least 40 years old. My mother, for a living, what she did is she was a food service director for a lot of the big national hospitals. So she would most specifically go in and get them ready for state inspection to make sure that everything was good to go. So they had this waffle iron that they were going to basically get rid of. We're like, we can't have that. So I think we bought this for like 20 bucks. We've had it in our family for 40 years, and it makes a 7-inch Belgian waffle. And this is one of those irons, once it's hot, it's hot. One thing, if you are considering a waffle iron, since we're kind of talking about waffles first right now, if you're in the market for one, the heavier the iron, the better, because it will get hot and it will stay hot. This is cast iron, so I came in an hour before we even got started, and just to let it preheat. But now, as you can see, we're just cranking one right after another. It's hot. It'll stay hot, and then once we're done, it's probably going to take a good at least an hour or two for it to cool down. So the nice thing is too, because it draws so much power, when you turn this on, all of a sudden the power grid in your neighborhood's going to go out. It's awesome. So actually, yeah, this didn't give us any problems today. We've got a 30-year-old home, and I've got one outlet I can use this with, or else I throw all the breakers in the house if I try to use it in another one, if you've got one of those situations. So with this, it is an overnight waffle mix that I've come up with. So when I've tried waffles before, they'd come out of the iron and they would be they wouldn't be crispy on the outside. They'd be kind of, not doughy, but they're just not crispy. Everybody wants a crispy waffle. So I found this through some research and kind of put this together. It's real simple. Your milk and butter, if you've got maple syrup, if you want to add that, that's optional. We've got some here. Well, I didn't put any in this, or else we would have went broke on the budget putting maple syrup in this size batter. But we do have some to put on there. It's salt, vanilla extract, eggs, flour, and yeast. So hence the name, yeasted waffles. You just mix this up the night before, put it in a container. Now do know this is yeast. It's going to grow some. So for example, you guys can see the marks on here. So I had roughly 4 quarts, 5 quarts of mix last night. When I woke up this morning, it was almost up to 10, because the yeast had, that's its job, right, is to rise. So just make sure that whatever you're going to make this in, you have enough room for it to grow in your fridge, or else you may wake up to a fun time. That's the only thing to think about with this. What else? Anything about this? I think we'll talk about the vanilla too, since that's also in the cinnamon rolls. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on this while we're doing stuff here. The other thing about vanilla, I have gone to what they call baker's vanilla. You can get this at Walmart, at Publix. You're going to see the McCormick bottle that's this big, that's 20-some dollars, right? That's real vanilla. Then next to it, you're going to find a long, skinny bottle that says baker's vanilla. I like that better. The reason why is because it's bake proof and it's freeze proof, where real vanilla is not. So, since these are overnight waffles, and because we're using this really hot iron to get this done, have you guys ever used vanilla? Like, say, for example, cookies or anything, and it says use 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then you go to eat it, and you're like, okay, I put vanilla in there, but I don't really know why. It's like, why bother? Try the baker's vanilla. A, it's a whole lot cheaper, and it's bake and freeze proof. And Cooks Illustrated did a whole thing on it, where they even did a taste test of baker's vanilla to real vanilla, and nobody could tell the difference. So I know everybody's trying to save a few extra pennies these days. So try the baker's vanilla. CBI, right, the place down Punta Gorda next to the airport, this was $2.62. Now for those of you that are going to be here in July, ice cream. Yes. So we're going to obviously do vanilla ice cream. I'm going to use this. I got a gallon of this sitting in the pantry waiting for me. Wow. And I might have paid $20 for the gallon.
So
you can go there and buy stuff. If you want to go to CBI, just roll up to the gate. The guard's going to come out and say, what are you here for? Just say, I want to go to Express. That is like the secret knock on the door. If you say I'm here for Express, then they'll let you in. They will sell to the public, and they will also break cases. A lot of people don't know that. So if you don't need 4,000 hamburgers, you want 1 box, they will break a case and give you 1 package, you know. But yeah, it's if you've never been, it's a really cool place. All right, so anyway, so that's kind of the deal about the waffles. Again, we're just kind of cranking. If you've got a regular waffle iron, this recipe I think I got in there yields 3 Belgian waffles. I realize probably most people don't have this size waffle maker. If you have like a normal size waffle maker, you might get double that, 6. So you may want to make the recipe once and then try it with your iron and just see how many you get, and then you can make a note in there. So I actually took the recipe that's in your book and I scaled it up 600% to make enough for us today. So that's 6 times. You guys know I love my grams. So I just put everything on the scale. I use a program that I put everything in. I say make it, instead of 3, make it 18. It says okay. It recalculates all the ingredients. I throw it on the scale, bing, bada, boom, done, finished. So there's no thinking involved. And I need that, trust me, especially at the end of the day. All right, so that's the Belgian waffles. Now, all right, now we'll do the cinnamon rolls. Suzanne, can I bother you to run this while I'm working on this? So 3.5 minutes is the secret number. Okay. I just use that as a timer. I use 1 heaping cup in here and I just spray it. Does that make sense?
Spray it before I put the heaping cup in?
Yep.
Gotcha.
All right, so while she's working on that, now we're going to look at the cinnamon rolls. So here's what they, yeah, this is cool now. Here's what they kind of look like. So, you know, I got asked the other night about, are you making normal size rolls or are you making Spencer size? I said, this is a normal size roll. This is, we're going to go out, you're going to eat this. So, by the way, this recipe that it's in your book is for a 9x13. I found this lovely pan at Walmart for like $5. It's like 17 by 12.5-ish, but it's like 2.5 tall. And so you could double up. So I actually made double the recipe. So there's 24 in here. So if you've got a function that they're expecting you to bring something and you're like, oh, what's nice about this, do it the work the day before. When you get ready, you can just take it out of the fridge, give it an hour, throw it in the oven. Done. Then you can even ice it to when you get to wherever it is you're going. I'm just going to pop this in the microwave here for a second or two. We're still working on how to figure out the microwave. It's a professional microwave, so 1 means 10 seconds, but then I said, let's push 9, and 9 gave me 4 minutes. We're figuring this out. There's a wrinkle in the matrix, but it's going to be okay. So, when this is done, after you, another 10 seconds will be good. So when I took this out, by the way, let me back up. You guys know I'm always crowing about this thing. I brought it with me. This is my thermometer. I've never baked in anything in this before till today. That'll be good. So I had no idea how this oven was going to bake. I've got the $200 hot point at home. You know, gets the job done. So I know what that oven will do. I also know I need to rotate everything in it, or else one side gets brown before the other side. With this did a really great job. This is I think it's a GE or Kenmore GE. I'm not promoting their product. It was very evenly baking. So Suzanne and I were talking, and I said, oh, hold on a minute, I got to check them. So I got in there, I think 40 minutes. So it's 35, stuck this in the middle of the roll. Because these turn brown, obviously. I have no idea if they're done. It said like 180 degrees. In the book, I think I got down 190, 195, somewhere in there. So I gave it an extra few minutes, checked it, they were done. Now I know they're baked. So then while they were hot, has anybody made bread before? All right, about half of you. What do you kind of do when you take the bread out of the oven to keep the crust soft?
Butter on the top.
So I took some butter, like a whole stick. Okay? So now they're cool. Now we can make the icing to go on top. And then they'll be ready to go. One thing about this, other than it's overnight, that you can do it a day ahead, if you just need to make them, if you want to make it, bake it, take it all in one day, go for it, you can do that. But if you kind of want to do the work ahead of time, you can do that. There's a thing called this Tazong, T-A-N-G-Z-O-N, something like that. It's in your book. I don't have a book in front of me, but, oh, here it is, T-A-N-G-Z-H-O-N-G. I believe that's a term from Japan. And basically what you do is you take milk and flour, you put it in a saucepan, and you heat it up, and it'll turn into like rubber. You can almost play ball with it. It's great. So why are we doing this? What it's doing is it's locking the moisture into your product. So that way, this has holding power now for like 3 days. So it will stay nice and soft. It's not going to get hard as a rock. Has anybody ever baked something and then you go to eat it 2 days later and it's like the counter? That's what this technique is used for. So you do that ahead of time, and then you throw it in with your regular dough when you add your flour, your milk and butter and everything else. I've got the other recipe here in front of me. The other thing I thought about trying is why not add vanilla as a flavoring extract in your dough? So if you're making something like, she's got like the blueberry coffee cake she made, or if you're making like a quick bread, something like that, throw some of this in there as a flavoring agent. So that's in there, the instant yeast, and you do want bread flour for this. So that's one little caveat, but you can get that in the store. You can find that easily available. The filling is a little bit different. You got your butter, but you do want melted butter, light brown cornstarch, or I'm sorry, light brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and salt. So if you've ever had cinnamon rolls where the filling just goes to the bottom, and then you have to scoop it out of the dish and try to put it back on top, that's no fun, right? So I found, why don't we add a thickening agent like cornstarch, because it will start to swell as it bakes, and try to keep it in the roll. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you decide to make this, when you're going to put the filling on top, it's not real wet. Just so you know, it's a drier mix. So just roll it as tight as you can to keep the filling inside. So then when it bakes, hopefully we're going to find out when we go to cut into these in a few minutes, if it's actually going to stay in there. It should. So that's the cornstarch. And then you got the butter for brushing is also on the recipe. That's what I just talked about right after you take it out of the oven. And now we're just going to throw the icing together real quick. So we've got butter, vanilla, Salt we're going to let go of today because there's plenty of salt in there anyway. The confectioner sugar, I grew up knowing this as 10X sugar. I guess that's what my parents always called it. But it's confectioner sugar, powdered sugar, however you might have heard it. And we've got milk for consistency. So we've got butter, sugar, and milk. Now this is the American diet. Way to go right here. So, all right, so we're going to throw our, I've already sifted this. So we went in and just put it in a sifter. Yep, get all the lumps out. So now we're going to add our butter. The nice thing about this is if you've ever had this kind of icing, nice thing is it's quick. Sometimes it can taste a little, I won't say chalky, but it just has a weird flavor to it. If you use water and no butter. All right, so now we're supposed to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I don't have any teaspoons. I know, Suzanne, I'm making you proud. There, was that 2? I can do it once in a while. Isn't that nice? I'm going to have to go to my therapist after this now. All right, so we've got this now. So again, we're going to forget the salt. So now we're just going to add enough milk to kind of bring this whole thing together. Now again, you could, now here's the thing, if you've never made this kind of icing before, a little liquid goes a long way. Or else you're going to start to fight it. You go, oh, I need to add more powdered sugar. And then it's just like this weird vicious roller coaster. And then you say, you know what, these are excellent uniced. That's what eventually what happens. All right, so we're just going to add a little bit of, I don't mind going a little bit at a time, because again, we're making, everything I'm doing that's in their book is a double batch today. Suzanne, could you do me a favor? I'll use this. I was going to use the spatula, but okay. We're going to use the whisk here in a minute, but see, we're doing all kinds of unconventional things today. Isn't this great? Just goes to show you, use whatever you got. So basically, we're just going to throw this on there, and we're going to call it a day. Anybody else have any questions while I'm mixing this? Question?
What was the size of that big pan again?
So the question was for the camera, what size is this baking pan I got at Walmart? It's about 17.5 by 12.5. And I think it's roughly 2.5 inches tall. They called it an oversized roaster. So if anybody needs that.
And that was because you did a double recipe?
I did a double recipe because I knew we were going to have quite a few people showing up today, and I want to try and give us, so 24, so if we cut some of these in half, and then plus with the waffles, there's 7-inch waffles. If we cut those in half, we're going to have more than enough. Yes, question?
If you don't have powdered sugar at home, you can pulse it in your regular sugar, white sugar, pulse it in your food processor, and it will make you powdered sugar.
Okay, so good tip. I'm going to repeat that for the camera. So she said if you don't have powdered sugar at home, take regular white granulated sugar and put it in your blender or food processor, and then you'll have powdered sugar. So there you go. That's kind of a good tip, right? Anybody else got a question, comment? Question?
I noticed there's aluminum foil in the pan. Do you put that in first?
I always try to put that in no matter what I'm doing, because the first thing I'm thinking is, I want this to be fun. I don't want to end up with a pan that I've got to somehow jackhammer this project out of there, right? That's no fun. So, yes, anytime I can line a pan, I will do it. So I put foil in, and then what I use, and I've got some here, I can even show you today. You got this Baker's Joy, which she's going to use, or you got the Pam version, the blue can. That's got flour in it. So it's whatever their non-release agent and a little bit of flour. So I spray that before I put the rolls in there. After I make them, I roll them up, I stick them in there. See, look at all these calories I'm burning. So this way, when we get ready to eat one.
Don't you usually use parchment paper? Why did you use aluminum foil?
So great question. The question is, and so you can tell she's a veteran here. She says, you usually use parchment. What's up with the deal with the foil? The reason why I use the foil for this particular one is I could mold it to the pan easier. I did this after work. You know, sometimes if you've done your 8 whatever hours at the job, and then it's like, okay, now you got a little project you want to get done. I don't need the paper to fight me at the last minute. So yeah, you could use parchment if you want. It's just, I find that this, for this particular, I could make it fold into the pan a little bit easier, but yeah, normally that would be fine. Any other questions? Question?
I saw a tip where you use a loaf pan for your breads or whatever, but they cut the corners. So they have like 4 flaps, 2 head flaps and the side flap of the parchment paper. And it comes right out, it doesn't really stick to the pan on the corners.
Oh, there you go. So you is that parchment?
Yeah.
So they took a piece of parchment paper, they cut the corners, made 4 flaps, and put it inside the bread pan
Right.
to keep it from sticking.
Right.
There you go. Now when I do bread, next month, by the way, is June, right? Yeah, we're doing bread. Not just traditional bread. I know I've heard some ideas of things floating around, so make sure you sign up for that one. That'll be good. I'm going to bring my bread pans. You want a sandwich, you want a sandwich. You want it to fit the, you know. So those I do use. This I've used as well, and it's let go, the bread, inside of a bread pan. So that will definitely work. Yeah, I'll have to definitely try the parchment trick. That sounds good. Any other question?
Are both of those cans with flour in them?
Yes, they're just 2 different companies.
Yeah.
All right, this is just about there. We're going to do the old ribbon test here in a minute. You can make this as thick or as thin as you want. There's no right answer to this. There is a, you know, it says 28 to 56 is what I've got in my notes, grams of milk, but as you can see, we're just kind of going by look. Any other questions, comments? All right, so let's see here. What do you guys think? That good? Okay, it's all your fault now if it doesn't work out. This is just like Food Network, isn't it?
Yeah, better. You can smell.
Yeah, we got smell-o-vision here, you guys. They ain't got no smell-o-vision up there in New York. Okay, so first you start out with Willard's Healthy Smoothie. And then by the time you get to me, it's all downhill after that.
Well, it could be up a little bit now. I think we're going up.
No, one thing I've had to do, like at work, because it seems like I know at work everybody has a birthday. It seems like every other day. So there's always cake and stuff. So I make sure I bring salads for lunches, just because I gotta be healthy in there somewhere. Okay. So that, of course, is going to level itself out. So there we go.
My name's Connie. I made mock eggs Benedict. I did the simple. You can add more spices to it to suit yourselves. I did just the plain, so it'll be easy. The ingredients are English muffins, Canadian bacon, eggs, milk, baking powder, salt and pepper. I dice them. I just take the muffin, dice it, don't even tear them apart. Put them in your 13 by 9 pan, dice your Canadian bacon, put it on top, whisk your eggs with your milk, your salt and pepper, and the baking powder. Pour it on, leave it overnight, pour it on the milk and everything on. Next morning you get up, you bake it for 45 to 50 minutes, and in the meantime you make your hollandaise sauce. I use a package, but you can make your own. And when it comes out of the oven, just pour the hollandaise sauce on top and you're done. Very simple, but you can use more like more spices. This will be more bland, and some people like more.
Hi, I'm Jeanette, and I'm making the blintz souffle. Do you know what a blintz is? Who knows what a blintz is? Not really. Okay. The closest thing is a crepe. But I've had people over for lunches or brunches, and I'll show them this dish, and they'll kind of look at me like, I don't know, what is that? Well, this is a blintz souffle, and it really is very easy because I buy the blintzes frozen at Publix or wherever you shop, and so you just take the frozen blintzes, and they are stuffed with cheese. They're cheese blintzes. You can get different kinds of blintzes, but these are cheese blintzes. And you just layer them in the pan. The pan has been sprayed with like a Pam. And then you whisk together the other ingredients that is on the list that you've been given. Pour it over there, stick it in the oven for 45 minutes, and you have this souffle. And people, when they taste it, well, you'll be the judge. But, you know, people have gone, oh, that really is good. So I hope you enjoy it. I did goof when I bought these blintzes. I was rushing through Publix, and I thought I grabbed 2 boxes of cheese, frozen cheese blintzes. And when I got home and was putting them in the freezer, one box said cheese blintz, and the other box said sweet cheese blintz. So I still used them. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to me too. But before, I've just grabbed the box that says cheese blintzes. So hope you enjoy.
So is the blintz, does it come flat like a crepe?
No, it's rolled up.
Oh, it's already rolled
So,
up
yeah,
with the cheese in it.
with the cheese in it. But they also come with like, you'll see them in the frozen section. I think it may be in the kosher section at Publix, but they have potato blintzes, strawberry stuffed blintzes. The closest thing would be a crepe.
How many comes in a box?
6.
6 in a box.
So this is a 9 by, 9 by 13, and it, fits the 2 boxes.
Hey, I'm Alice, and I brought Puerto Rican piononos. So they are plantains that you fry, sweet plantains. You cut them lengthwise, you fry them. You make your favorite recipe of ground beef, add any seasonings you like. What I did is I did it my way. I fried the plantains. I rolled them into cupcake cups. That's the barrier. Then you fill it up with the ground meat, some cheese. If you want egg, you can put egg, any binding agent. And there you go. You have a pionono. It's sweet plantain, ground beef, cheese. That's it.
I bought plantains before. You're saying sweet plantain?
Yes.
I've never tasted a sweet plantain.
Okay, so when they are green, you just let them ripen. Yes, sorry, Spanish. You let them ripe until the skin turns yellow with brown dots. It's preferable. You cut them, fry them. It will caramelize, so you have to be watchful of them. You can fry them with any vegetable oil, or you can do it with butter if that's your preference. But it has to be an inch. Yeah. We do it in several ways. You can do it lengthways. It's easier for the roll, but you can cut them in little rolls too, or diagonally. But I hope you like it.
So if you guys like, for example, the next one's going to be breads. So if you want to contribute a recipe, if you just want to bring it by the Port Charlotte Library sometime before the next meeting, I'll try to get it in the book, the printed book that we do. We are still currently working on the annual cookbook that we work on that a little bit throughout the year. We've got a little something special that we're working on for December. In fact, it's already done. We won't say what it is, but we will tell you this.
We won't tell anybody.
You've never seen anything like this before. It's very unique, and you're each going to get one. So it's going to be a nice. It's going to be a nice deal.
Oh, yeah, before you leave, we'll typically have comment cards. They're out there at your stations. So if there's anything you really liked and you want to see more of that, please add a note for that. If there's anything you didn't like and you don't think we should be doing, add a note for that too. We're interested in what you have to say, and we're just trying to make it better so that everybody enjoys it. And, we've got a couple of items that you can pick up at the library. You can check them out here if you're really interested in them. Just a reminder that we are part of the library. There's a lot of good reference material at the library. Each of our branches has a huge section of cookbooks dealing from everything from the stuff you shouldn't eat to the stuff you should eat every day. So you'll find something that you like.